Created by Youssef Bagheri and produced by Quantum Dread. Night hung over the ruined world like a suffocating shroud. The wind howled through the crumbling buildings, carrying the stench of decay. In the heart of an abandoned factory complex, walled off by makeshift barricades and rusted fences, 5 survivors sat in a semicircle, the weight of the night pressing heavy upon them. Sarah, their leader, stood atop a crumbling watchtower, gripping the rail as the rhythmic pounding of undead fists echoed. Their pale forms writhed in the moonlight, crawling over one another to get inside. Hundreds, no, thousands, pressed closer, stuck on the other side of barricades made of mangled car pieces and shards of steel. Inside, the group's tension was palpable. Max, the sharp-eyed scavenger, rubbed his temples as he studied the dwindling supplies. 2 days, he said grimly, tossing an empty can aside. Maybe less if the water pump keeps misfiring. Then we move before morning. Tom, the battle-hardened ex-soldier, chimed in. He set his pistol, a heavy weapon with just a single round left, on the table. Fighting through the horde's a death sentence. We need another way. Lisa, barely 17, hugged her knees in the corner. Other way? She asked, her voice small, trembling. They're everywhere. There's no way out. Max's eyes snapped towards Sarah. There is one way, he said with uncharacteristic urgency. The old drainage tunnel off 6th Street, the one we barricaded weeks ago. If we can hold off the undead long enough, it's our shot. Sarah stiffened, scanning their grim faces. They were all looking at her now, desperate and worn, but united by the faint thread of hope in Max's plan. Then we move, Sarah said softly. The factory gates screeched open, just wide enough for them to slip through one at a time. The streets outside were soaked in rot and blood, the ground slippery beneath their boots. Lifeless figures turned slowly, sniffing for the sound of movement in the dark. Tom unhooked an old flash grenade from his vest, whispering, "Eyes forward. I've got you covered." He hurled the grenade into the distance. Fire exploded across the night, and for one precious second, the horde fell silent, dazed by the light. "Now! Run!" They tore through the city ruins, dodging rusted cars, vaulting over debris, and slipping through alleyways clogged with the remains of civilization. The sewer entrance loomed ahead, rusted and partially submerged under decades of filth. Then came Lisa's scream. She had tripped over an exposed pipe, her face smacking the pavement with a sickening impact. A rotted body surged forward, grasping at her like a predator smelling blood. Its ragged teeth bit at her coat, strings of decayed flesh snapping as it moved. Tom raised his pistol, pulling the trigger. Before panic could destroy them, Max acted. His machete flashed in the moonlight with brutal efficiency, slicing through the creature's neck. The body dropped to the ground with a sickening squelch, but it was too late. The sound had carried. An avalanche of groaning roars erupted from behind them. Hundreds of bodies surged toward the noise with relentless hunger. "Get up!" Sarah shouted, yanking Lisa by the arm. They ran harder, their lungs straining, their hearts hammering. Tom threw his shoulder against the sewer hatch, wrenching it open as the mob clawed at their heels. One by one, they dropped into its murky depths, the stench of damp earth filling their nostrils. Max slammed the hatch shut, just as the first undead fingers curled through, to no avail. Panting, covered in grime, they leaned against the slimy brick walls of the sewer. It was dark, suffocating, but quiet except for their labored breathing. "We made it," Lisa whimpered. Tom shook his head. "We made it out," he said gravely. "But now, what's waiting for us down here?" Before anyone could respond, the silence shifted. A low, guttural growl cut through the corridor ahead. For a moment, the group froze. Then came the sound of heavy footsteps echoing off the cold walls. Faster, louder, closer. Sarah gripped her weapon tighter, her muscles coiling to react. Lisa pressed farther into the corner, her voice barely above a whisper. There's something else. Down here. The horde above will be the least of their worries. Created by Youssef Bagheri and produced by Quantum Dread,